Don Imus is off the air for now. Don't get excited. Like MacArthur, he will return, as far as I'm concerned, and I think others would agree. For those who may have been hiding under a rock for the last few weeks, Don Imus, very, very well-known shock jock, referred to a group of African American female basketball players from Rutgers University as nappy-headed hoes. Well, there was a clarion call for his head, and the usual activists in the persons of Reverend Al Sharpton and Reverend Jesse Jackson required that he be fired from the air. Reverend Buster Soaries also joined in and called for his ouster. And so he is gone, but not for long. I have a friend who used to say, after you kill the dragon, then what? And what she was referring to is, now that we've rid ourselves of Imus, can we safely assume that we will never hear those kinds of comments coming from shock jocks of every hue who still remain behind those microphones? Of course, I was as angered by the comments as anyone else. I'm an African American woman. I have an African American daughter, quite bright, a lovely young lady. And so I was miffed, to say the least, by Imus just hurling those kinds of epithets at those kids who had done nothing except make us proud. Having said that, however, I think we, as the African American community, could have gone about this in a different way. We could have gotten some mileage from Imus by keeping him on the air and perhaps insisting that he become more sensitive about the things that spewed from his mouth. Now, we won't get the chance to do that. Certainly, he will be picked up by someone, satellite or whatever. But I think we, in the African American community, cry for people to be fired as though the problem will go away and we will never have to deal with this again. We are being quite naive if we think that. Well, I'll tell you why. I'm glad you asked. I'll tell you why. Because I hear rappers, black rappers, hip-hop artists, whatever they choose to call themselves, male and female alike, who use some of the most horrific language, and sometimes they don't use the King's English very well either. And you know what? They are making loads and loads of money. Sometimes people refer to it as grand theft dough. And even though there are those of us who railed against such comments, I certainly have in the columns that I have written in local publications and monthly publications. Certainly, Reverend Sharpton, in all fairness, has also chided these young people and was very forceful about not wanting them to hurl those kinds of same epithets at young people, referring to women, mainly women of color, as hoes. Reverend Calvin Butts has done the same thing. The late C. Dolores Tucker was vilified by black people when she, back in the 90s, began to talk about and really in a very, very angry way about the way some of these rap artists portray African American women. So here we are today, angry at Imus, refusing to look at the beam in our own eye, as the Bible says, because we've got some problems with some of the female rap artists who refer to themselves as bees, the word that rhymes with rich. We have problems with many of the hip-hop artists who have no problem using the N-word, referring to themselves, to other people, to women. And we don't seem to be as angry about that as we are with Don Imus. Now, I've heard that there is a difference with Imus using that word or using the word hoe. There's a difference of him using it and the rap artist using it. I don't buy it. I get mad when both people use or both use it because, first of all, it's insulting to anyone. including the prostitute who may live a life where people think they should call her that name. More importantly, I'm angered by the fact that in the black community, we have more problems than we can handle. And worrying about the word hoe and even putting a moratorium on the N word, to me, is a lot of wasted time with teen pregnancy, women who are in their 50s and 60s taking care of babies who are 5 months old, 6 months old, because the mothers themselves don't want to be bothered with the kids. I'm still worried about a number of African American men who are not in their place, not on their post as fathers, as good husbands. And yes, the Million Man March was wonderful, but when everybody came back, from what I can see, it is business as usual. That has nothing to do with Imus getting away with what he said. But action was taken, and he's been fired. We can't seem to fire rap artists. They just keep making those same kinds of, many of them, let me not paint everybody with the same brush, they seem to keep making those same kinds of stupid, ugly statements and very, very bad English or using poor grammar, and no one seems to be offended by it. Or let me rephrase that. There aren't enough people offended by what they say. There aren't enough people ready to challenge the record moguls to tell them that they've got to do better by putting out different kinds of lyrics. After all, when these rap artists, let's be honest, when these rap artists say hoes and this, that, and the other, they're not referring to white women. They're referring mainly to African American women. Even though it is not said, it is understood. And quite frankly, I'm tired of it. I thought about things that went on regarding African American women, and you know, we've been vilified quite a bit in this country since we came here, regardless of how we came here. We've been vilified by blacks and whites alike. I mean, comments like you can't rape a black woman and all such stupid comments as that have made people look at us as less than who we are. But I remember when I was a young girl and I was told about some of these historically black colleges and universities, and African American women who wanted to enroll at these schools were required, mind you, women only, were required to send their photos to these colleges along with their applications. And if those women were too dark, they were not allowed to enroll in the college or the university. So I think we've got a lot of homework to do right here in our own backyards without taking Imus to task and making him seem like the bogeyman, which he is not. Let me say this again. I'm unhappy about what he said. I'm insulted by what he said. I don't think he should have lost his job because he said that. But then again, I didn't think Al Campana should have lost his either when he said he didn't think, and if memory serves, blacks had the necessities to be in the front office of some kind of sports. I forget whether it was baseball or football. I don't remember. If everybody gets fired for stupid things they say, nobody would have a job, because we all find ourselves sometimes using our mouths quicker than we use our heads. I would hope that after this dies down, that we all come to the table, those people of goodwill, black, white, brown, red, whatever, come to the table and decide what we're going to do about young people who can quote a rap song like you wouldn't believe, but they could not recite the Gettysburg Address. They don't even know what the Gettysburg Address is. I would like us to come to the table and talk and reason together and discuss why we still see so many of our young black men involved in gangs. I would like us to come to the table and talk about why women who have lived their lives and looking at an easier time in the twilight years of their lives now find themselves raising grandchildren because the mothers of these children just don't want to be bothered. So I'm saying all that to say, okay, Imus was wrong. I would agree. I stand on the side of those who say that he was wrong. But I also want to stand alongside people who are willing to look at the African American community itself and say, we've got to get our own act together. Imus notwithstanding. Bad words notwithstanding. Take care.